Hi, I'm Lesley Kennedy. I'm Chief Executive of Maven. We're a consulting business that's doing work in the Middle East, and we have been working up there for about the last 3 years. I'm just going to give you a couple of pointers around some of the things that we've learned about doing business in the region. First one's really been on collaboration. One of the things that New Zealand has to get much better at doing is collaborating with other businesses. It's a very big market up there. There is a lot of work to go around, and we are competing with large multinational European and US organisations. They have much bigger scale, they have much bigger presence and much more money than we do to be able to get into that market. And as a result, we have to be really smart about how we get our fair share. So what we've found is that what works really well is, rather than trying to do this all on our own, if we pick some really good partners and we come up with some innovative models and smart ways of doing things, we absolutely get a good space at the top table, and we also compete very well against those major companies. As an example, we've just beaten out the Australians and the British on quite a large deal within Oman, and that's by collaborating with 2 other companies here in New Zealand, a university and another education specialist. So we know we can do it, but we've got to do it smart and smarter than the others, and by collaborating and working with partners, we all get to grow, and there is more than enough to go around. The other point I often get asked about in the Middle East is, or back here actually, is how do women get on working in the Middle East? And the Middle East isn't all one region, so there are differing levels of conservatism and in the Islamic beliefs that they hold. So for example, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq are more conservative, and therefore there are more restrictive practices around women working in business in those regions. It's generally a lot harder. You generally have to wear a headscarf and an abaya, which is a full-length black sort of outer covering, and you generally have to work through a man. So it's actually quite hard to be able to be in a decision-making position as a woman. In the more liberal regions, such as Qatar, the UAE, Oman, it's quite acceptable to have modest Western dress and work at very senior levels. Women are in very senior levels in these areas as well, the local women, and it's actually a really good opportunity to build a relationship with a senior Emirati or Omani that a man couldn't. So it's handy to have both male and female representation on any of your teams, because it really does help. With regard to language, English is reasonably widely spoken there, and while it's very handy to have Arabic, sometimes they actually don't like you speaking Arabic because it means they can have conversations off to the side without you knowing what they're talking about. But it is handy to have Arabic knowledge, and they do understand English pretty well from a spoken language perspective. But don't assume that if they speak good English that they actually understand the written word as well, because often their English language in terms of their written skills and their comprehension is a lot more basic. It's important when you're doing presentations up there to slow down your speech, and this is especially true if you are doing a simultaneous translation, which can be really, really difficult to present to. You have to be slow and wait for the translator to translate, which is a bit of an art to learn. So be aware of what you're going into and what your requirements are of your hosts, and as much as possible have an understanding of their level of language capability and skills.